Across the Atlantic Ocean lies a subtropical oasis that beams of exotic beauty. With its signature pink sand, aqua water, and classic rum swizzle, Bermuda is the gem of the Atlantic. Journey today with the Reinsurance podcast as we head to this island paradise to take part in Bermuda's annual Risk Summit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reinsurance podcast here in Bermuda. I am your co-host, Jared Lee.
And here with you, Ben Rose, and not just me, delighted to welcome Raphael Zindi, Chief Commercial Officer for Slipcase. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here in sunny Bermuda.
Indeed.
Sunny now, absolutely.
The weather's improved quite a lot during the day, I must admit. If you were here this morning, it was quite scary, dark and stormy, I think they say.
I think that's a cocktail, isn't it? Or have I got it mixed up?
It is indeed. But we're very keen to have you on the show to share with our audience both your own journey into the industry, what you're up to here at the Bermuda Risk Summit, what Slipcase is doing. We've only probably got about 10, 15 minutes. There's a lot to get through. But should we start off with yourself and your magical discovery of insurance, like all of us?
Yeah, sure. So I think the world of insurance is not anyone you even speak to that says, I fell into insurance and I was listening to a panel earlier and that came up and I was sort of scratching my head like, I am one of these. But my career in insurance really started back when I was at Fitch. So was with Fitch in 2014, and there I was one of the commercial leads looking after a book of business within the insurance sector. Happened to fall in love with the sector, as people do. Really got to understand the workflow of brokers and carriers at that point. Fast forward 4.5 years, I then made the switch to S&P. So went into S&P, helped them build some of their insurance products, and more recently I was a global head of insurance, where I was responsible for the market development, the commercial strategy, as well as kind of working with the marketing teams. You tend to go out to market and, people know the likes of S&P and Fitch as a certain type of organization. It's a rating agency, but what a lot of folks don't realize in the market is that they've got these tremendous, great big information services and data analytics businesses. So the idea was go out, educate the market, and help drive the commercial strategies and revenue while it's looking after our clients. Following on from that, I then joined Slipcase last year. So I was actually a client of S&D, Slipcase. So joined Slipcase as their Chief Commercial Officer, and my role now is centered around helping drive the commercial strategy for Slipcase, helping grow things like our audience, working alongside the founder, the client director, a data and analytics team and content team. I can delve into this a little bit more, but really kind of help grow the audience and the market reach itself.
Yeah. Well, a number of our listeners at the organizations that they're in probably are familiar with Slipcase and sort of how you sort of transmit the information of the industry to them on sort of their daily basis with things. But I'd love to sort of, for those who aren't in that camp, give us a bit of an overview of what Slipcase does and the role you guys play for your clients.
Sure. So Slipcase, in essence, is a central information platform. That's how we've born the business. And the idea behind it is you look at the market, there's a lot of information that's being produced out there. So we're helping organizations extend their reach, extend their brand and their expertise. And we're doing this by curating some of the best content that's being produced. So the likes of this podcast be a fantastic match. We're curating this information together on a single platform and enabling our users to understand the risks that they're underwriting, or from a broking perspective, the risks that they're broking. So given that total view of risks through a single platform.
Very, very cool. And to the point now where you're spreading the word of this to Bermuda. You were just in New York as well beforehand. You're all over the world, I guess, these days.
Yeah, it's growing massively. And I think the most kind of the exciting thing about it is the audience numbers. So every morning I walk in and, the first thing I look at is the dashboard in terms of the users. So we're up to 54,000 users. These are...
Can't whistle, otherwise I would have done a dramatic whistle.
Exactly. Up to 54,000 users. These are subscribed users that are, receiving our weekly newsletter. So we've got a newsletter that goes every Tuesday and Thursday. And then we've got over 214,000 users that are engaging with the Slipcase platform. So, going on there to understand the various type of risks based on their personal interests or kind of their personalized dashboard that they've got.
Yeah, it's a really interesting tool, and when you sort of go into it, you can sort of learn about the things that matter to you. As you said, there's a ton of noise, and just the broader industry level updates can sometimes feel like they're not talking about the things that you're most interested in. But if you're a marine underwriter, for example, you can sort of select the component parts of geographies and products that you care about the most, and it does create that really curated list of sort of information that sort of really is resonant and relevant to you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're spot on with that. I think we're living in an age now of personalization. We're living in an age of personalization, but also, I think the attention spans across the human race is, moving in whatever direction you perhaps want to call it. But some of the biggest challenges that we're seeing is, people want information fast. They want to be able to see, previews, and then, decide quickly whether do I engage with this piece of content or do I move on to the next. We're giving our users the opportunity to preview some of the best content that's being sourced. So we're working with over 200 sources across the market. We've got some fantastic publishers that we work with, and some of them are here doing recordings and interviews. And these are the type of inserts and content that we would surface up to specific users, while it's also gathering the data and insights as to what's happening out in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, when we were first starting our business, Ben would always say, like, in all areas of our life, we have this experience, but you come to reinsurance and you get like this other thing that's just very antiquated. I think you guys are doing that, right? In all of our experience, there's this deep curation of things that matter to individuals and based on their tastes. But up until recently, like industry news is just like the top 10 things, like across the board, and you guys are now bringing that level of curated insights to people based on what they have selected, which I think is a needed and excellent product for the space.
Yeah, so that's really kind of the bread and butter. Growing the audience is crucially important. There's a lot of product development that goes on. We're constantly asking for feedback from the users to really understand what is it you want, what type of information you want. But also on the flip side, so that's more from an internal view and the product development. But ultimately, what matters to us is the end users and our clients, and really understanding what does content mean. I think we again live in an age of everyone's a content creator, whether it's you're taking photos and uploading them on TikTok or Instagram or whatever kind of different platforms you use, and everyone wants to create content. But the challenge from, I guess, a commercial and insurance standpoint is, while you're creating content, it's actually understanding what is the value of the content you're creating, what is the ROI on the report or the insight you're producing, and who you're reaching. And these are the questions that a lot of the the chief marketing officers, the marketing teams, for example, comms, innovation, and people that are either producing content, managing content, are getting asked by the C-suite. Content's expensive to produce, and you've got to be able to kind of show the ROI. And we're helping and working with organizations to get to that and get that view.
It's quite exciting, right? Because it used to be one of the golden rules of marketing that you didn't know what worked and what did, right? Or you just did a thing and you had conviction and you hoped that the things you were putting out there were landing, but it was very hard to measure directly which part was being responded to. But it sounds like you're offering a way for that to be much more effective.
Yeah, and you talked about kind of dark and stormy at the start. I think there's a lot of content that's produced out there, and it goes into this dark and stormy world where no one has a view as to kind of what's happening. And by producing the insights, so part of the reason I actually joined was at S&P we were producing content. We were doing a lot of thought leadership webinars, but one of the questions we always had was, okay, if we're going to go to market, how do we know which carriers, which brokers, which reinsurers to target? What are they really interested in? So we used to kind of utilize the reports and understand, okay, we're going to talk about ESG. We're going to do an ESG webinar, for example, but what exactly within ESG do we focus on? What's really going to resonate with the brokers? So the data and analytics that obviously Slipcase is able to provide is able to give those insights as to, what content you produce and also kind of measure the ROI on that produce as well.
Nice. And what I have to ask, and I'll make it a very broad question because it feels like a mean question. I ask everybody this question, but Gen AI, where does that position opportunities, risks, ideas for your part of the world?
Yeah, so that's a very broad question, and I think much like everyone, right? I think a lot of people are trying to figure out exactly what it means, and it's particularly important in the world of content and publishing. What I would say is yes, it's going to play a role and continue to play a role in terms of helping educate on what thought leadership pieces were put out. But much like this podcast, I think whilst Gen AI is going to be there and is going to play a crucial role, there's always going to be the need for content creation through kind of face-to-face conversations and speaking with the human and understanding what's out there. I think it will continue to play a role, but I think that the human part will be in there as well.
And what is sort of the objective for this trip for you guys? And you sort of were planning to come down to the Bermuda Risk Summit with us. What was sort of the primary thing you were looking to get out of this trip and this conference?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Bermuda strategically is a massively important area. I think there was a panel earlier on in which Lloyd's was talking about the collaboration with Bermuda and how it's its counterpart in terms of growing and helping address some of the major risks from across the globe. But for us, born and bred out of the UK, we've seen significant growth in kind of the North American region. The US is, our fastest growing market at the moment. We're seeing huge surge of users, but also companies, that want to distribute their content through Slipcase. And Bermuda plays an important role given the size of its reach from an insurance and reinsurance market. So it's important we're out here, we're meeting our clients, we're meeting our partners and having the conversations and also helping us, shape the agenda around some of the product developments and areas that we can continue to develop and continue to deliver value for our clients.
And are you getting a feel for some of the hot topics that are coming out here at this conference in particular? Do they match up to the kind of hot topics you see in the Slipcase universe?
Yeah, so this is one of those questions where it's like the crystal ball, what's trending, what's out there.
Yeah.
We are tracking a lot of content, and I guess from a macro perspective, there's certain themes that seem to come up quite a lot. We started to produce recent trends reports, which are looking at the previous quarter based on the data. We're crunching the numbers there, and also providing qualitative analysis around why certain topics are trending well, or why they're not trending well, for example. But directly to answer your questions, on the broker side, for example, we're seeing a lot of interest around the regulatory piece, insurtechs, and also North American property. There's a lot of interest around clicks and engagement and content that's produced on that front. On the flip side, on the carrier side, casualty is one of the kind of the major topics. So we're seeing a lot of engagement with casualty related topics. North American property as well is coming up, and the kind of the broader, more kind of emerging risks that I don't know if we still describe them as emerging because they seem to have been around for quite some time, but all the climate, cyber related risks that follow us, and we're all trying to address and change.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see like a word cloud from you guys of each year and how it changes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, we actually do produce a word cloud.
Oh, cool.
It's very popular. So for our clients, we're producing reports on a quarterly and a monthly basis, on 6 month basis, depending on frequency. And one of the things we often get asked is, give us this word cloud. What buzzwords, for example, stick out. But also, it's the ability not to just kind of report on the words and trends, but also to understand why, why is casualty there, for example, or why is North American properties there. But don't ask me that question because I don't have the answer for you, so I'll spare you the moment.
No,
Oh,
perfect.
good. Well, awesome to have you with us whilst we've been doing this special Bermuda session of podcasting. Hopefully, given we've all come from London, we can do something when we get back home as well someday. But it'd be great to dive in further. For now, we'll let you enjoy the glorious sunshine and the remainder of the Bermuda Risk Summit.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say thank you so much. big fan of the podcast. As I talked about, tend to kind of listen to these during my morning commute when I'm trying to get the steps in.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant to listen, and yeah, a lot of great content out there, and look forward to connecting further. But
Well,
thanks a lot.
thanks for coming on. It's been a
Excellent.
pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks.